Okay, so I do want to just let everyone be aware of the the lines that the topic of this story are on are it's a very difficult and heavy topic. Um, the title of my story is Calling Back My Spirit. There are times that I think about death. I feel safe thinking about it, like it won't harm me, like it will protect me from what's happening and bring me relief. Sometimes it seems like the only answer to an unsolvable problem, or the only way out of an inescapable situation. This time, I found myself really ruminating on it for days. It started out more philosophical, the idea and concept of death, what it might feel like, especially the feeling of fully letting go of being alive. I then began analyzing if I'm really even needed in this life where I exist. And the answer I came up with was no. Then things took a darker turn. I felt such a longing to die, such a longing to let go of everything I had been holding on to and maintaining. Feeling such an exhaustion, which reflected the apathy I had developed towards all I was attached to. Tired of all the ambiguity I experienced. Tired of trying so hard to figure out how to explain things to people, and then when I finally did share something, being misunderstood. Realizing that is one of the most uncomfortable and frustrating experiences, being misunderstood. I imagined ways that I could die. I examined areas of the roof of our loft building to see which spot would be most fatal if I were to fall. Standing on the edge of a second story, feeling the sensation of being pulled into letting go, feeling a freedom in that, going limp and allowing myself to fall. Releasing all the control and strain it took just to keep myself alive. I imagined going for a careless walk through the land of East Texas, hoping the wild hogs would attack me to my death. I then realized it would be wrong to have them perform my dirty work for me. I just wanted to quietly disappear without anyone finding me or noticing I was gone. A chant rang in me. My brain is sick. My spirit is hurting. My body is grieving the loss of me. Oh, hollow, empty longing for death. No one to trust with these words, with these desires, these wishes, fantasies. Where do they go? They cycle around inside, from death to life, back to death again. The grasshopper laying to rest on a bed of growing plants, eaten by the ants and buried in their nest, limbs still protruding out the sides, evidence of the once lived life, providing sustenance for the next. Death that is honored, buried, and purposed. Where do I fit in? Where do I let go? What will become of me? I even went to the extent of thinking about what I would need to do to cut myself off from all responsibilities and connections so it would not be noticed when I was gone. It turns out there were a lot of things that would need to be in order before I could go, so it could take some time. I suppose my characteristic of taking such a long time to make a decision due to weighing and analyzing every possible option and scenario is what saved me. But still, I found the will to live escaping me more and more. I just couldn't handle who I was anymore or how I dealt with things that I didn't feel like I could live up to anyone's expectations, including my own. All the things I read about suicide prevention and when to seek help showed me all the red flags about my own experience. Yet I still felt like it was something I had control over, like it wasn't that big of a deal yet. But the truth was, I crossed the line a long time ago. I couldn't keep this to myself any longer. I heard being hugged described as setting a limit on the pain one is experiencing because it puts a perimeter around it. I wondered what that might be like to share my experience with someone, letting her know my pain and struggles in the moment they were happening, without having full composure or resolution and receiving a hug from that person. I worried about being met with rejection or uncertainty of how to handle what I just shared, or worse, having to take care of whoever I shared this with. I woke up one morning to my daily horoscope telling me, don't let your desire to escape conflict with your need to be kind to yourself. It stuck with me. Things stirred and reawakened. The blankness became more focused, and I opened up and shared. I went over to my in-laws' house in East Texas to spend some time with the land. I had been feeling a sense of disorientation and struggle to access mental clarity ever since coming out of the mindset of wanting to die. I realized it could be because in my mind, I recently attempted to end my life multiple times because of the ways and how vividly I envisioned it happening. I could feel the sensation of loss in my body, feel the life drained out of me. Since one of the ways I envisioned my death happening was by being attacked by wild pigs during a careless walk, I decided to go perform a ritual of apology to the pigs for asking them to do something like that. I later realized the paradox of the situation, since I was doing the very same thing I would have done had I wanted to be killed by the pigs. Instead, I went for a careful walk through the very dense, tall grass that extended across all the fields as far as I could see. The grass had never been so lush in all the years I'd seen it. I was wading more than walking. I felt vulnerable as I went further and further out. I was submerged in a sea of grass, standing in the middle of the field with absolutely no visibility of anything else that could be in the field with me. If there were any wild pigs in the distance, like the times I'd seen them before, I wouldn't have been able to spot them. There were times the grass came all the way up to my neck, and it felt like swimming in the middle of the ocean with nothing around but dark water. I did feel nervous about what I was doing and wondered if I should turn back around, but I kept hearing the grass whisper, "You're safe. You're safe." I had an urgency to get over to the gate on the opposite side of the field so I could reach it as a resting point to climb up and evaluate the lay of the land. I could tell the paths I followed through the grass were ones previously laid out by pigs, like they were guiding me. My senses were heightened and I smelled the most unusual variety of scents, some pleasant, some not, some from plants, some from animals, who knows. It was all so exciting. I thought how good of a mindfulness exercise it was to act like an animal of prey. Every sound, every movement, every scent, every sensation in my body instinctively kept me in full awareness of what was going on in that present moment. I reached the gate and climbed up to look around. Both to my relief and disappointment, I did not see any pigs. As much of a nuisance as everyone views the wild pigs, I had come to rely on them as part of the landscape and felt a certain security and the consistency of seeing them. Once I saw the area was clear, I made my way to the very back of the pasture to an open nook nuzzled between my favorite giant oak tree and the edge of the thicket. I scanned the area for a spot to kneel down and perform the apology ritual, getting pierced with sharp burrs along the way. I found an area that felt right to me and placed my partially eaten apple on the ground as a sort of offering. Just as I began to settle, I heard a rustling in the trees just in front of me. I waited to see if it was just a bird. It happened again, and this time sounded like something larger walking on the ground. My heart started pounding since I was in the exact area I had seen pigs multiple times before. My body rushed me away with my eyes glued to the location of rustling. I started running up to the oak tree for my only attempt at refuge. I stopped myself, and my instinct told me to trust the situation and stand my ground. Nothing was there. I faced the woods and apologized to the pigs. "I'm sorry for asking you to kill me. That was not right of me to do." I held my heart and said, "I'm sorry," over and over. I lay down on the grass in child's pose, folded over in complete surrender with my face pressed to the ground, continuing to apologize to God, to myself, to my body, my mind, my spirit, my soul, to my life and my future. I declared that I wanted to live, that I wanted to exist, that I deserved to be here, that I was going to live with purpose and intention. Then I called back my spirit. I identified that she was not gone, only drifted away. I lifted my head up, and as I took a deep breath, a breeze blew in and filled up my lungs. I looked down at the ground where I just rose up and saw this thin, wispy, smoky dust billowing up from the ground towards me as I inhaled. My spirit came back. In the moment when I feared for my life and well-being after hearing the rustling in the trees, I knew I was going to be okay. My body told me in that moment that I still wanted to live and be well. That's when my spirit came back, not just when I called for her. But really, though, it was the entire journey over there that brought my spirit back. The multisensory experience filled with the exhilaration of submerging myself in a situation of fear mixed with wonder, exploration, beauty, and intentionality in seeking out a piece of myself through the guidance of every spirit I came across on that walk. It was a communal effort to bring me home.